Perfect. Right now, we're going to jump right into the bread and butter of things. We're looking at the paramedic and advanced care paramedic programs with the School of Allied Health. And it's my pleasure to introduce our Associate Dean, the School of Allied Health Studies, Eva Lemack. Wonderful. You can take it on from here.
All right, thank you, Stephanie. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the paramedic session. I'm joined today and pleased to have some of our students, three of our current students, who will be sharing their thoughts a little bit later. Nick and Sydney are first-year students, and Carly is a second-year student in the paramedic program. So as Stephanie said, I'm the Associate Dean of the School of Allied Health. There are 9 programs, 9 health programs within our school, and primary care paramedic and advanced care paramedic are 2 of the programs within the school. Next slide, please. Okay, so becoming a paramedic, obviously, there are many requirements, academic and other requirements as well. And I wanted to share with you something that is very important. And the students on the call will know that the program requirements, the post-admission requirements are extremely important, and you will see these in your acceptance package and your welcome letter. So when you're a few of the things that you'll need, obviously, is your CPR and first aid, and that is a requirement. So if you are applying to the program, you're accepted into the program, and then you're starting in the fall of 2022, the program will be collecting this information from you. And so we want you to be aware of that so you can start preparing for that well in advance. So over the summer, making doctor's appointments and things like that to get your CDS clearance, your communicable disease surveillance forms filled out. And this is required because in term 2, you will be going out on field placements, and our placement agencies require these things to be met. Okay, so we wanted to let you know to keep that in mind. Sometimes students wait till the last minute, and then they realize that there's certain immunizations that they need that take time, weeks, and they have to be given weeks apart. And then, it's unfortunate because they can't move forward to their field placements. So we like to let people know as far in advance as possible that these are things that are required, they're mandatory. So both for the ACP and the PCP program. And we provide tons of information. So when you're accepted into the program and you receive your welcome letters, you will, and obviously on the student portal, all the information that's posted, everything is outlined very clearly. There's a checklist of things that you need to guide you. But we don't like that, we don't want students to wait and jeopardize their place in the program. There will also be information about uniforms, and those are provided by the college. They're included in the students' material fees. And so once the students start in September, there is a day that a company comes on campus for fittings, and then students order their right sizes, and then every student gets their paramedic uniforms. And then there's some other equipment, stethoscopes, BP cuffs, and all of that the program goes through on orientation day of what needs to be purchased or what is provided for the students. In terms of textbooks, course outlines include all of the textbooks. There is a need for iPads as well, and that is not needed in term 1, but in the upper levels, because we use a tracking system for your competencies and evaluations, and so that a software system that requires the use of an iPad. And again, that information will be provided in detail on the program orientation day. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is a sample of the documentation submission. And on the Niagara College website, there is a link on health, wellness, and accessibility services under health services. There is a link for paramedics. There is the CDS form for all other programs, and then there's a specific one that says paramedics only. And again, that would be provided in your welcome letter as well. So we just wanted to give a sample of what the documentation submission that's required and the checklist that I was referring to in the last slide. Next slide, please. Okay, so the paramedic program is a 2-year diploma program. You may have heard that there's talk about it moving to a 3-year advanced diploma that is currently sitting at the ministry level, and we have not received final approval. When I say we, I mean none of the colleges across the system. So currently it remains a 2-year program, and it is delivered 14 weeks is each semester, and the students are off in the summer. So you're done in April, and then you're back in September for the 2nd year. Next slide, please. Okay, in terms of admission requirements, they're posted on the website, easily accessible. Any admission questions, you can reach out to the admission student enrollment services. English, a biology, a chemistry, or physics are the current requirements. Next slide. All of the faculty, all of the program staff that are currently teaching into the paramedic programs are active paramedics, advanced care paramedics who work in the field. They work for various EMS services. We are big in allied health on interprofessional education, and I'll expand on that a little bit in a few more slides. You will be busy with all of the practical experiences. Obviously, during COVID, things changed a little bit, but we were fortunate enough that our EMS providers and our placement agencies continued to take our students so that they would gain those experiential learning opportunities. Our program is fully accredited by Equal Accreditation Canada. So that means that our program has met a certain standard for delivery, and that we are delivering a high quality program. Okay, and then when you graduate, you're eligible to write the provincial examination, right? The AMCA certification exam that allows you before hiring to participate as a paramedic, right? To move forward as a paramedic. And our success rate has been excellent over the last several years. Next slide. Okay, so in terms of the curriculum, the program of instruction, every term the students have a lab where they practice their skills, they learn about equipment, they participate in scenarios. There's also heavy theory courses that include anatomy, physiology, pathophys, patient assessment, patient care procedures, pharmacology, and legislation, professionalism and jurisprudence, and your interprofessional education. There are physical requirements for the job, for the role, and there are physical requirements that need to be met by each student that are vocational outcomes. So they're ministry mandated outcomes. So the paramedic students must work up to lifting 210 pounds. So that is a requirement for the students to move forward. So the students start to work on that early on with lifting a weighted mannequin on a stretcher, and then in term 1, and then by the time they're in term 3, they need to meet that lifting requirement before term 4, where they're off to their ambulance placement. Okay. We also have a driving simulator that the students rotate through and to practice their defensive driving skills, which is also a vocational outcome that the program must sign off that the students have met. And then there are several types of experiential learning opportunities that the students rotate through. And just to name a few, our students participate in the virtual dementia experience that's on campus. Hearing voices is another session that our students rotate through. Our students will be going out or have been out to diabetic foot clinic at the homeless shelters to help assess with the guests there, to looking at their feet, to refer them on to a physician or foot care if they need it. So our paramedic students are involved in that initiative as well. Blood pressure clinics. So our students participate in blood pressure clinics at various community sites. Currently the students are at Niagara Health doing a rotation in the emergency room department, getting used to the hospital environment, getting comfortable, building confidence, talking to patients, working with other healthcare professionals again, and doing some basic assessments. And we also had, it was on hold due to COVID, but we're hoping to resume our partnership with the Hope Center, where our paramedic students participate in activities there as well. And the EMS, the paramedics on our program advisory committee, are very supportive of the initiatives and the activities that the students are involved in. And they always say that paramedicine is 90% communication and 10% medicine. So that's important to keep in mind. So that's why the program really, puts an emphasis on students having these experiential opportunities where they can build those competencies, the communication piece, talking to patients and vulnerable populations. Next slide, please. Oh, we got this is the video that we can watch.
2367, Roger. So priority 1, Magna 8, 509, Wendy 11.
Guys, we've got a 6 Echo 01.
Okay. My name is Connor McCullough, and I'm a second-year paramedic student at Niagara College.
So always do switch over, but we also have frequencies.
My name is Lena Wright, and I am a second-year paramedic student at Niagara College.
Every week, you have the opportunity to attend a scenario. What that means is that the attendant is the person on the call that, especially in your scenario situations, is assessing the patient and making decisions as to what protocols you're going to follow and what road you're going to go down with that patient. Strong pulse is radial and carotid.
You have no pulse.
No pulse. Blackjack, can you continue CPR for me?
Yeah, no problem.
Other side, please. I'll have you switch over. Thank you. Doing lab scenarios is very, it can be stressful, which is a good thing because you're going to see those stresses on the road as well when we are working.
Connor is ultimately responsible for the outcome of the call, so making all the decisions, responding to the patient, delegating important tasks.
It's coming down.
Niagara EMS has always been a supporter and sponsor with the Niagara College Paramedic Program and wanting to provide the perfect environment for a student who's coming from the didactic, the classroom portion to experience what it really means to be a paramedic.
We can only learn so much in school. You learn your knowledge and you learn how to apply things. But where you really learn the application is when you're riding out with these different crews. You get to see the type of professionals that they are and you get to see them demonstrated on a daily basis. So that really gives us a chance to learn from them, and we really get to mash it together into the sort of professional that we want to be.
So that gave you a little bit of a glimpse into some of the experiences and what it looks like in the lab. And as Connor mentioned, it can get a little stressful, but that's good. It helps prepare the students for real world experiences. Next slide. Okay, so our labs, again, there was a shot in the video of the hallway where the labs are located at the Welland campus, and we have a series of rooms, small labs that the students break out into and work either 1 to 7 or 1 to 8 or smaller groups with the instructors on scenarios, and sometimes rotate through the rooms, rotating through different scenarios, and then coming together at the end for a debrief to talk about the actual simulation experience and the patient situation and the scenario itself. Next slide.
Just before that, I noticed we do have a question and a hand up. So The question that I have here is, given the intensity of the program, are there any students in the program who are also on varsity teams?
So that's a good question. And yes, we have had many students who are in this program or any of our other allied health programs that are on varsity teams as well, for sure. Yep. Okay, so this slide shows the student testimonials about the program and about the positive experience that they've had in participating in the skills. And we also have open access supervised practice labs for students. We are now happy that we can resume that a little bit. Those things, again, were suspended during the height of the pandemic, but you know, we are moving forward with that. And so students are now allowed to come to the labs after hours for supervised practice to help with their skills, to practice their lifting, and just for reinforcement as well. Okay, so that we have some information about the advanced care paramedic program as well. So I can go through that, and then we can. I'll leave it time for questions about both programs, or either or if you like. So the advanced care paramedic program is a one-year certificate post-grad program. So for individuals who are already working as paramedics, who have graduated from the primary care paramedic program. So it is a one-year program. And the admission requirements for this program are a little different. So a PCP diploma, letter of employment with certification under base hospital medical authority, the AMCA certification or equivalent if an individual is from another province or another country perhaps, and the minimum score of 70% on the pre-admission test. There is a pre-admission test that makes candidates eligible to be admitted into the program. So the program highlights designed for current primary care paramedics, and there is a huge demand for advanced care, both primary care and advanced care paramedics at this time. We have EMS services recruiting paramedics all the time, especially it starts this time of year, and for their hiring, and it goes right into January, February, where many of the services are hiring new recruits. And so the students will start that process even before they graduate, applying for services. And then they'll graduate in April, and many were hired last year. Many are hired every year. Services are looking for currently in some areas over 100 new recruits for next spring. So it is a fantastic time to be in the program and be in the profession. The profession itself is evolving. We're seeing paramedics in different roles, including community paramedicine, where they're visiting regular clients in the homes and providing supports and cares, not just lights and sirens, but there are so many other options and avenues for people in this profession. Okay. With the advanced care paramedic program, the students are on campus they're on campus 1 day a week, every Tuesday for labs, and they're currently their theory courses are being delivered online. So it is a 2 day a week program. And then in January, the students are finishing their didactic portion, their theory portion for 7 weeks, and then they're off to their clinicals. They do start their clinicals in term 2, even though they're on campus, but then they're heavy into their clinicals in the last 7 weeks, and then moving forward until the end of August when they complete their preceptorship, their ride outs. So they're in the hospitals, they're in the ERs, they participate in an OR portion as well. And then they move on to their ride outs, their preceptorship for the last several weeks of the term, and they're finished at the end of August. Okay, so what makes NC Health programs unique? We touched a little bit on all of the different experiential learning opportunities and the interprofessional education. Paramedic program students participate in a course, an interprofessional education course, Health 1020, where students work with other disciplines and learn about other disciplines. What do other healthcare professionals do? What is their role? They're mixed in with PSWs and nursing and pharmacy and OTA, PTA and massage therapy and rec therapy, so that you get a well-rounded experience of what all the other professions do. Because as you know, paramedics will work with, all different professions when they're working in their role. So it's very important to get familiar with what everyone does, right? And the scope of practice for all the other professions. And besides that, we also engage in many interprofessional collaborations with other program areas. So for example, the paramedic program, the paramedic students have taught the dental assisting students how to take a blood pressure, and the dental hygiene students how to take a blood pressure. The OTA PTA students teach the dental assisting students how to transfer a patient if needed onto a dental chair. And our OTA PTA students teach our pharmacy students how, about home healthcare aids. So there's many interprofessional activities that we were doing and that we're going to keep doing as we move forward with the paramedic students as well. So many partnerships that we're engaged in, and many partnerships within the community as well. As I mentioned, a few with some of the homeless shelters and outreach programs and Niagara Health, the diabetic foot clinic. So all of those that provide those foundational skills that paramedics are going to need out on the road. Next slide. Okay, so this slide speaks about the interprofessional education and the integration of several health professions into a healthcare team. And we use simulation spaces across the college to role play and participate in scenarios and simulations to help the students, develop those skills. Team-based approach to problem solving. Okay, so I'm going to ask to turn it over to our students. Then perhaps they can speak a little bit about their experience and their perspective in the program and why they chose paramedicine at Niagara College. So I don't know who wants to go first. Nick, do you want to start? Is that okay?
I guess no one else is stepping up. So. Yeah, sure. So I guess first off, I'll talk about why I chose the program at Niagara College. For starters, I love the area that it's in. Believe it or not, I'm from up north, so I never got to experience Niagara much growing up. So being in the area has been pretty cool. And then on top of that, the campus was a huge factor for me. Even when you visit campus, you'll notice that like everything is new. It's very well kept and organized nicely, like especially for like labs, for example. All the paramedics are in that hallway there. And then even if you see on the dental side as well, they're all over there. I like the campus itself. And then the program, it was actually recommended to me by a friend who took it a while ago that I grew up with and went to high school with, who I'm still friends with now. So yeah, I actually took a degree before this in human kinetics, and I changed my path a little bit because what I was moving towards didn't actually resonate with me as well as the prospects of this job. So and then I actually chose to study paramedicine because growing up I was always into the science and into science fields, and I always pictured myself going into medicine in some way, and that's originally why I took human kinetics. But then through my degree, I kind of realized what I wanted out of a career, and paramedics just seemed to hit every mark in my mind, at least. And like, it's just really awesome because you're not stuck in the same building. You're going out, you're being part of the community, you're helping people, which is something that was huge for me. And then just the experiences that you'll get, I feel like, are just going to be like none other compared to being stuck in a building or something like that. So yeah. And then I I kind of chose paramedics as well because I was playing volleyball with I had a guy on my team who was a paramedic, and he would just always tell me about what he was doing in his job lately, and he would come to me with these stories, and it sounded so awesome. So I was really excited to come into the program this fall, and yeah, and then I really enjoy this program specifically because like when you're being taught, it helps to have somebody who's teaching you who has actually experienced it, and in that sense, a lot of our professors are actually paramedics as well. So they'll be able to teach us from their experiences, which just makes such a difference from somebody who's just reading out of a textbook when it comes to somebody who actually utilizes what they're teaching. It's really interesting, especially to hear their perspective. So I really like that. And then another thing that I enjoy about the program as well is the labs. Especially during the pandemic, you still get the we were this fall at least we were getting the ability to meet some of our classmates, which was huge, instead of just seeing people over Zoom meetings, which is always tough. But the labs themselves are really interesting and fun. Even something as simple as taking vitals, it was really cool to experience that with everybody and take turns measuring everyone's blood pressure and whatnot, or even extricating someone from a vehicle from the police labs. We got to go there and to use their car and take people out using the KEDs, and yeah, no, it was really cool. I'm really enjoying it so far, and I'm excited for the future.
That's great to hear, Nick. Now, what you said you're from up north. Whereabouts up north?
I'm actually, do you know the Muskoka area?
Mhm.
Yeah, so I'm actually from up there. My family is a really old family around there, so I'm from between Port Carling and Bracebridge, kind of.
Okay.
So
Are you planning on going back there, or are you going to stay? Has the Niagara region tempted you?
I think I'm gonna be going back there. It's hard to beat that the woods and the lakes down there and everything. And I just have family there. And actually, the guy who I play volleyball with said that there is a lot of opportunity for me up there. So I, on top of wanting to work with some of the people who I know who are in the field there already, it just I'll be close to family and all that. So that'll work nicely for me. But even like the professors, for example, like I was talking about earlier, working with people like them down here would just be amazing as well. But for me, I think the rural area has me hooked.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nick. We appreciate you coming to speak about the program.
No worries.
If we can maybe pass it to Sydney.
All right. Hi. All right. Yeah, so kind of a similar story to Nick in the sense that choosing EMS, or specifically, choosing Niagara College was a really great idea just because of the area. Like, it is beautiful down here in Niagara. But also I noticed, obviously, I feel like everyone is able to notice just how vast the spans of Niagara EMS, like the service spans. And it's such a growing population. So there's going to be continuous job opportunities, which is great. Like, you do have to think about that in the future. And there's a lot of job diversity as well. So you can be PCP, ACP, you can go on to different allied agencies as well. And again, in the area, there's a lot of job opportunities for those too. So I think that that's great. That's why I liked picking this area specifically. And the campus, again, like Nick said, is great, very well kept, very beautiful. And I specifically chose paramedicine myself, just because it's a kind of a job that like what I think that paramedicine is basically about is being able to work effectively as part of a team while it's under extreme pressure. And I've been in the service industry for quite a while, and it's not the same kind of job at all, but it has a very same work mentality where you kind of have to leave whatever you have going on at the door and, get to work, get going, grind the night out, and then, you'll be able to like hang up your keys and go home. And I feel like it's very similar. Like, it's not going to be a job you bring home with you. Of course, you are going to be bringing it home, like, because you're going to be helping your community, being involved. But it's not something where you're going to have your boss calling you at night, right? It's something very much where you're going to be able to give your all during your shift. And I really like that kind of separation in a job. I think that was really great. And it's also always changing, right? Like, and again, like Nick said, like the stories you hear from different paramedics, and they're not always nice stories, of course, but that's also reality. But it's still, I think that that's so intriguing. You're never going to have like the regular 9-to-5 kind of job. And I think if you're somebody who doesn't like that kind of Monday to Friday, then I think it'll be a great job for you to look to. Because yeah, that's what I've been doing my whole life so far in the service, and I love it. I don't like having a set schedule, so to speak, or going in and knowing exactly what I'm going to do. I think that that diversity is really great for people who like that diversity. And specifically about this program, I really, really like how practical it is. I'm sure we've all taken those courses where we're like, what are we doing here, you know, or it doesn't necessarily pertain to your career. But in this program, it's not like that at all. It's fantastic. Everything that you're doing is going to be directly related to your job. The people who are teaching them are active ACPs, so they can tell you their firsthand experience. So you really get a bird's eye view into what's going on. And then obviously we get to go into clinical and our ride-alongs. And I think that it's so incredible that this program gives us that opportunity. Not a lot of programs really give you that. And you might get through a degree program like myself. I was going through linguistics before and then decided, okay, well, you know, I don't really want to be a teacher and completely switched it. So I think it's really important I think it's so great actually that the program really lets you get involved and understand, okay, this is exactly what you're going to be doing. You don't get to just learn something and then forget about it after a test. You have to really know it because it's so important and so critical to your career. So overall, the career, the college, the program, it's just fantastic choice. I'm glad I made that choice.
That's so great to hear. And switching from linguistics to become a teacher to paramedic, I mean, you're still helping people, but just in vastly different ways. For anyone considering this, what would you say like the course load has been like for you? Has it been like an overload, or is it manageable?
I would say it's definitely manageable. Well, it depends on what kind of learner you are. I'm a very hands-on learner. So I don't find any of, like, obviously I'm not trying to be anyway. I think that it is definitely difficult. You definitely have to be great with your management, very organized. It will be easy to fall behind. But if you're on top of everything and you're making sure that you're ahead of classes, like you should always go prepared and understand what you're going to be taught. I love that, especially Lindsay. She really really pushes us to make sure that we understand the material before we're in class. So we're just kind of reviewing it. So if you're somebody who's willing to be prepared and willing to be on top of everything and are on top of everything, then I think you'll do fine. The physical requirements definitely, like if you're considering the program, definitely start on that now because strength takes a while to get to amass. But yeah, no, I think if you're just willing to grind and get to it, I think you should be fine.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you so much, Sydney.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If we can have Carly come on.
Hi.
Thank you.
You guys can hear me? Perfect. I just want to apologize if I look tired. I just got off my first midnight shift at the hospital, which was awesome. So I think it's funny, all three of us kind of have the same story. I first took early childhood education and then I became an autism therapist. And I actually just recently resigned as an autism therapist because of placement. But yeah, then I just chose to go into the paramedic program as a second career because I always wanted to do something with people, to help people, to be in the community. And I just find science really fascinating. So if you're an older student, don't be afraid. You can come back, you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. And I chose Niagara College. When I first went to Niagara College, I chose it because it was close to my house. Stay at home, save money. But then I chose to go back because of the reputation, and every professor I've ever had in Niagara College, they care. They're involved. And especially in this program, they are all ACPs like the other two mentioned. So it's nice to, like, if you have a specific question, they're like, oh, well, when I did it, it was this way. Or like, they just have so much experience that you can learn from. And my favorite thing is also the labs. I find it's fun and you get to like your peers or your patients. So if your peer gets to, you gotta have some good actors in there. They can pretend to be in cardiac arrest or have a broken leg, and sometimes they're really bad at it, and sometimes they're really good at it. And yeah, the more questions you ask, the better you'll do in your scenarios and labs. And if I was to give you a piece of advice, I would say download your ministry documents. There's like the ALS, the BLS, and the companion document. And those things, you need them. You need to memorize them. You need to know them. And if the earlier you get on top of that, the better you'll be in this program, because everything that you learn, you need to know the ALS to implement anything that you're doing.
That's great. Thank you for that piece of advice. Now, question, you said you just got off your first overnight shift at the hospital. So you're doing, what are you doing there?
So I am at GNGH in the ER. And my first weekend, which was last weekend, I was in like see and treat, which is basically like if you go to the ER and you have something minor, they'd see you, treat you, do x-rays, things like that. And then this week I was in resus, which is more for more unstable patients that need to be monitored. So a nurse would have 2 patients versus having 5 patients, or even 10 patients, depending. Yeah, so it was really cool. Last weekend, actually, I got to help deliver a baby. So that was wild. I never thought that would happen in Niagara Falls, because that's St. Catharines is the baby hospital, but she was from out of town. And yeah, it was really cool. I got to like run, like we were running her stretcher to the OR, and it was just it's a high pace, but so fun. It was a great environment.
How prepared for your actual work have you did you feel that the course has set you up for?
I felt good. We're not doing too much, like we're not doing anything invasive. We're doing like vitals and a lot of soft skills in the hospital, just building things like empathy and making sure you can talk to patients as well as nurses, doctors, and the actual working paramedics. And we just finished our labor and delivery part of our program before midterms. And so then after midterms, I went into the hospital, and my second shift, I got to help deliver a baby. And the nurses there were like, oh my goodness, I don't know, what's that thing that you use to check the baby after it's born? And I was like, I can tell you. Like, I was so excited. I felt like, yes, I was so prepared. So it was really great.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us today, Carly.
Of course.
Sure. I guess one thing I forgot to mention was I actually, before I went to my degree, went to do my degree in human kinetics, I applied to paramedics and got accepted, because even back then I kind of had an inkling that it was going to be right for me, but I wanted to get that university experience. But if I could go back, I honestly probably would have come and done this first, because I feel like I'm actually going to pursue a career in it for at least a large portion of my life. So I don't know.
To the person who asked about athletics, I have a friend in this program, and she's on the basketball team, and she manages, and she does great. And yeah, it works great. And I think we're all student reps for this program. And so I was a student rep last year and this year, and now I'm on the board of directors for NCSAC. So as much as it is a lot, this program is a lot, you do have time to get involved in the school. And I definitely would recommend it, because I've never been involved in the school before. I just kind of went to school, but getting involved, it's a lot of fun. You can make a lot of connections.
For sure. And those connections can follow you even after you graduate, and they can help to enhance your experience. That's why we call it the #MyNC story or #MyNC dream. Niagara College is all about creating that experiential learning and community for all of our students. Actually, there is a question on here. So it says, several people suggest taking pre-health before applying. Does the entrance mark for PCP from that pathway still need to be about 80%, 87%? If so, do student marks tend to stay the same from high school to pre-health for most, or is there usually a drop for university pathway students?
I feel like in any situation when it comes to grades, I don't know about any of the percentages there, but especially when it comes to how your grades change from high school to either university or college, it really depends on the type of learner you are. Especially with college, if you're a hands-on learner and you're able to get involved and just put the effort forward, then you'll see the marks reflected in that, I feel like. Yeah, I don't know. I forgot the rest of the question, but
Well, I feel so the pre-health classes that we have, the pre-health courses that we have are there as a really good way to set you up. If you don't know which health direction you want to take, you can get into the pre-health and it can help you decide which path you want to take. Or if your course is full and you're not able to get in, then you could take the pre-health to go into there if you don't want to hold off on school. But in regards to so the entrance mark for PCP from that pathway, does it still need to be about 87%? Eva?
Yeah, so that depends. There's no concrete answer for that. It depends on the cohort of students that are applying. So that is a factor. But the big advantage of pre-health is that it gives a strong foundation for the sciences. So perhaps, your high school grades may not be that high, or you want, you just want to brush up on that foundational knowledge in the sciences. So it's never a bad idea to do pre-health in any of our programs. Again, many of the students that come to us, including the ones that are on today, have degrees or diplomas in other programs or life experience, other jobs. So it varies. But a lot of students that come direct entry from high school feel that the pre-health is very advantageous. It does provide, that the extra knowledge, and that extra year helps them to be successful in the paramedic program, because it is quite intense. So in terms of the actual cutoff for the percentage, that's more of a question for admissions. We don't really see that data, but definitely someone from admissions could provide some guidance and insight for you.
No, it's okay. I was going to say, I believe the pre-health program has the communications and the computer course in it as well, which we have to take first term. So if you do take the pre-health, you will have those, and you don't have to take them when you get into the program, which will lighten your course load by two entire courses. So that's I had those already, so that helped me. It helped me for sure compared to my peers who didn't have those.
I know a lot of people who are in that same situation where they only actually have 3 courses right now, so they're actually to work a job on the side if they're worried about money and that kind of stuff. So it's actually really nice for them. And then I feel like also if you were to do that pre-health, like that background, especially in what we're learning, would be huge, just to make the courses that we're in now a little simpler. For me, my degree actually had a lot of these courses and very much in depth, so that helped me in the same sense. But even if you're coming straight out of high school, we have a girl in our program who I know who's super nice, but she's coming right out of high school too. She's fairly young, but she's doing completely fine. It's not having any issues. She's putting the effort forward, and she's seeing results. So I guess it really depends on the type of learner you are, what your financial situation is, what your education situation is. I don't know. It's like it varies a lot from person to person.
Yeah, I know that when I took the pre-health program at Humber College, and it gave me a really good foundation to health sciences in general, because again, I was coming from, languages like French and Spanish double major to this. So I think if, especially if you've taken a break, I know a lot of people are either coming straight out of high school, or some of them have other degrees or have taken a break for work. I think that it would be a good idea to take a pre-health program if you've been away from school or away from I would say like anything in type of health sciences, if you haven't really touched on that in a few years, maybe it would be a good idea because yeah, like Nick was saying, it's really beneficial for things that we're learning, especially with our PATHO right now. I mean, it gives you a good leg up, and there are some courses that get taken care of. I think I got my COM taken care of this year, or this term, sorry. So that's an extra course load taken off. It's super beneficial.
That's great. And how did you guys find your support? Like your professors, any academic advisors, your fellow students? Do you find that there's a large support system there for you?
Yeah, I find even between the students, like everybody is super nice and tends to work together on things where they have the opportunity. So studying and that kind of thing is great. Professors as well, just whenever you have any type of a question, they're always more than happy to answer and support you in whatever way they can. I know I have like when we had to do all of our vaccinations and stuff this fall, health services was very helpful as well with that, which is something for anyone in here, get those sorted out early in advance. There's a lot of people who aren't quite done on that. So, but yeah.
When last year when we could not have open labs, sorry, that was difficult to get out. A bunch of us decided, like first just me and two of my friends decided to have we had like Zoom sessions where we pretended to do scenarios. We just give each other scenarios and we talk through them, and we found that really helped. And then we told more people, and more people joined, and more people joined, and more people joined, and then like we were able to build like a bunch of like a friend group essentially, where we were able to help each other. And the more people we had, the more scenarios we got to run, and the more we learned. So I think that was very helpful, but I'm very grateful for Open Lab. So excited.
That's great. Now we do have another question. So is entrance based solely on marks, or are experiences, training, etc. considered?
It is marks.
So with that being said, would somebody who's perhaps experienced, I don't even know, I guess, how to answer that or ask the question, I suppose. Let's say somebody is a volunteer and they've been volunteering for a long time. Would any of their experience be considered towards entrance or anything along those lines?
Not in terms of admission, but obviously those experiences would be extremely valuable in terms of the practical components. Yeah, so they would transfer over. So for sure, those would be valuable there, but not in terms of admission. The students aren't evaluated on like a portfolio per se.
Okay, perfect. So we do have about another minute. If anyone has any questions for the panelists here. In the meantime, I just wanted to remind everybody that this is recorded and it will be available by Friday of this coming week. If you had any questions, wanted to go over any additional information, or wanted to watch the whole thing over again. I know I've had a lot of fun. It's been my absolute pleasure bringing this information to you and to speak with our panelists. It looks like we're at the end of our time. If there's nothing else that anyone wants to say, then I think I'll end the session here. Perfect. Okay. Thank you all so much. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.